Hello and welcome to the second session of Star Wars Episode 9, Spark of Hope. This is a retelling of the final film using Hearts of Wulin to do that with pre-gens. This session is part of the Gauntlet gaming community, which is an online gaming club. You can find out more about that at gauntlet-rpg.com. If you want to hear more about how we've set this up, why we're doing this way, I did suggest you check out the first of these three things, of these three videos, because that will explain a lot more about this. I'm not going to go too much into that. My name is Lowell, pronouns he, him. And what we're going to do is talk about what happened last time. We have our characters together. Our four core PC characters are Rey, Rose, Poe, and Leia. They are the ones that have sort of the motive force. And last time we saw them intercepting a convoy, and things went bad, then good, then bad, then good. But eventually they were able to get this hauler truck to safety. They were able to have some chance to talk to one another, and we got a sense of the character inner entanglements and relationships. And then we opened up the back of the truck, and in the back of the truck we found Lando Calrissian, of course, DJ from the previous film, some other scoundrels, but more strikingly, Grogu. And if you know who that is, then you know we have a young teen Grogu on the table, and I have taken the illustration that was shared with me last time and dropped it into the NPC tab there for that. So that kind of set up that, with sort of the final thing being, and Lando saying, and I have the information that you need, and kind of left that hanging on the table as to what was going to happen. I do want to see if you hear howling behind me. I live in the Midwest, and the wind is up something fierce today. We didn't get hit by the tornadoes in my area, but the wind is just howling, and has been howling for a couple of hours. So I don't think that's going to knock the power out, because it would have before this, but there's always a small chance. So I want to go through and check with everybody about their characters, make sure about their choices they've made, make sure they're happy with that. Before go too much further, let's just a quick check-in. Our lines are harm to animals, harm to children, homophobia, sexual assault, torture by PCs, and midichlorians. And then we have veils on nothing, but we do have ask firsts, like to check in on things, on the following things: bullying, epidemics, mind control, PC betrayal, real world racism, slavery, and suicide. So those are just to know that we have those on the table. Let's start with Rose. Stephen, let's take a check through. You don't have any elements marked. Looks like you're in good shape there. In terms of choices on moves or other things, are you happy with what you've chose last time?
I think so far. I was looking through my notes from last session, and I see that I'd mentioned that something about changing my conflict element from metal to wood.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my conflict element is metal, which is control, calculation, and reflection, and wood is patience, growth, and curiosity. And I think that's the direction I'd rather take the characters in, growth and that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and switch that out.
Yeah.
Excellent. And then Poe, Dameron, Cisco, anything that you want to change, switch, adjust for your character? You have 2 elements marked out of your 5.
I do. I am trying to copy and paste the Chewbacca move that I took, flying solo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Of course, I hid that column, didn't I?
Yeah. I revealed it, and I don't know how to rehide it. And also, I'm not super literate in Excel, so I tried to straight up copy and paste, and of course, it didn't work.
So which one was it that you're taking?
It was flying solo from the Chewbacca playbook.
Okay, let me grab that Copy. Yeah, this is always weird how it does that. Okay, I see what it's doing. Because it's reading the lookup table is what it's doing. Okay, let me open the data. Okay, and copy characters. There you go.
Awesome, thank you.
All right. Anything else?
So far, so good.
Okay. So let me talk about elements being marked. There are two ways to generate clear elements. One is in scene, a comfort and support action to interact with the player, to help them work through their things. In between scenes, when you're kind of out of heavy duty conflict, you can narrate a brief moment to tell us how you are like recentering yourself, how you're settling in, like a reflective moment, and then you can clear one of your elements. So those are the two ways to clear that. Let's come to Rod and Leia. Are you still happy with your choices that you made?
Yeah, no changes for me.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
And you have one element marked. And then last but not least, we come to Ray. Are you happy with your choices?
Yeah, I am. I still have one move to pick, so I'll do that when it's relevant. There was one thing I was wondering.
Sure.
Sorry if there's some noise in the background. My neighbors are drilling something. I think there's draw on the force, but somewhere there was mentioned use the force. I think those are the same move, right?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Otherwise, I'm fine. I have one element marked.
One element marked. So we have a scene here that we're setting up, and we cut away to Finn. And the goal of this whole thing is we're going to see Finn breaking into a first order base and getting a set of information. We don't know what it is yet, but we're going to see that. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to do this a little bit like a montage in 13th Age. And we'll show you how this works. So Andish, I'm going to start with you. When we first see Finn, where is he? Like, what do we see on screen with Finn there?
I think he's just knocked out a stormtrooper, and he's putting on the armor, and we see him standing with a helmet in his hands, and like he's really hesitant to put it on after all his experiences, but he needs to go undercover and sneak inside.
Absolutely, and I love that the sense of that hesitation, the significance. We probably get a little bit of a musical sting when he does put that on, and we see him moving through the base, going towards it. Adish, what is the first obstacle that Finn faces as he makes his way through this base?
Ooh, I think there's a person there. There's like a checkpoint that he passes through, or needs to pass through, and there's not just the regular stormtrooper guards there, but there's a person in black clothes who seems to be they're special in some way. Maybe it's one of the Knights of Ren, maybe it's someone else.
We see a new costume design for
Yeah.
the movie there. They've got that set up. So Stephen, how does Finn get past that?
I I think what we see is we see Finn kind of walk up where that's going on, and we see the figure in black turn to him and say, "You there, come over here and help, help with this." And he heads that direction. You can see him his movements are a little reluctant. And he comes over, and I think that's when we hear an alert go off, and the figure in black's head snaps up and strides off, and that's whenever the character we know as Finn, puts his stuff where it needs to go, and then slips away before the other troopers notice.
Finn starts moving through the base, heading to this. I think maybe we see a bit of him trying to get his bearings as he's moving through here, getting close to the databanks. What's the next obstacle, Stephen, that Finn faces here?
I think the alarm indicates that his friends that he's made on planet have started their attack, which is a distraction. So he needs to make it to the place of the base to get the information he's looking for. I think there's probably a room or something like that, and he needs to get in and get out quickly.
So he now needs to pick up the pace, heading towards that. How does he shave time off? How does he get moving faster, Cisco?
I think we see one of those like transporter. I don't know what you would call them. They look like the things that carry luggage at at the airport. I think he has like managed to hop on one, and it's he's zooming by on one of those, and he's getting around quicker that way.
So yeah, he's on one of these. He's zipping along. Maybe we see him jump to another one, and we see him get to this data storage area. I think we can see through maybe some glass what it looks like. There's a little bit of an echo of Rogue One, of that transit transmission area and the blocks and things like that, whether we see of that. So Cisco, what's the next challenge that Poe faces? Is it about getting in? Is it about getting the information? What is it that we see here as that next challenge?
I think maybe he has some sort of data card that he has to insert, and he's like, and it's like, error, and now he's got to figure out how to slice this himself.
So Rod, he's the card that he has isn't working. He can see into the thing. How does Finn solve this problem?
So I think he's like furiously typing and starts hitting it, and then he hits it one more time, and the green lights go on, and a door slides open, and you actually see R2D2 there, plugged into a console or so, and he's like, how did you get here before me? And R2D2 responds, and he says, I don't speak beep boop bop, you know that. And he goes into the room and starts doing what he needs to do.
So helps R2D2, gets this stuff out. We see the downloading of the information. The little bar goes up. We see maybe on screen the visual representation of all these faces and places and names, and it'll speed up, get that sort of flash of that. And then Finn and R2 pull out, have to leave. What is the obstacle? What is the challenge for Finn and R2D2 as they leave, Rod? You're muted.
I think they go back into the hallway, start heading back towards where their escape vehicle is, and they're going down a corridor, which a darkened corridor, which suddenly that black robed figure we saw before is standing right in the center.
Absolutely. And Anders, we see that the lights change. We see that figure that you summoned up before has returned in the way. Probably it's a little bit like Empire Strikes Back, where we can see through the doorway the ship that Finn is going to leave on. He's got R2 there. What's the sequence we see? How does Finn get past this guy, overcome this obstacle? What do we see?
Ooh. Oh crap. I think we see Finn hesitate for a second, and then he keeps walking like he's going to just walk right past this person. But they stop him, reach out, put a hand on his shoulder, and Finn. There's a close-up struggle. Like Finn tries to pull up his blaster, and this person knocks it away and pulls out a lightsaber, and Finn knocks that grips his arm, and they struggle for a bit, and then I think R2 shows up, or R2 like shocks this other guy enough that Finn can get his blaster, shoot him, probably not fatally, but shoot him enough that they can run away and escape.
Yeah, so we see this figure this like what's different about this lightsaber thing that we see?
Ooh, I think the blade isn't like this clear, strong blade that we usually see with the lightsaber. It's kind of weak and flickering and wavering a bit.
Like some kind of like knockoff lightsabers, trying to push it. We get that they close out the push back and forth. They fight, and the struggle, and then there's the Zach. He falls back, steps back. We hear another explosion. We see something start to fall. Finn takes a shot, hits the guy, the flex off of the blade, falls backwards. We don't know exactly what's happened to him, and we see Finn and R2 rush and take off, and that is our Finn sequence. So we've got that in play. And to remind us all, what has Finn taken? And this is what can we kind of jump ahead to Finn talking with Princess Leia, handing her this information disc and saying, "Well, I got it. I still don't understand what you think you're going to do with this."
So she'll hold it up and there are other Finns in here. When we release this information on all channels, the First Order stormtroopers who are taken, like yourself, will know their past, will know that they had families, that they had home planets, some of which might have been destroyed or will be destroyed by the First Order. Let them know what it is that they are destroying. Let them know that the lives they may be taking are their parents, their grandparents, their brothers and sisters. At the least, the First Order will learn to distrust their own soldiers. And all we need is that one trooper that will turn like you did, just one at the right time.
I hope you're right, General. I hope you're right. And I think we see Finn go away. We probably see that stormtrooper helmet like sitting on a counter in the backdrop just to kind of reinforce as he walks away from that 23andMe Galactic Database. So I think we're in a different location than we were last time. We're clearly off that planet. We're in some kind of other rebel base. Stephen, tell me something about this new rebel base location. Like, what do we see?
I think what we see is kind of wispy clouds outside the window, and every once in a while we'll see a speeder kind of speed by, and as we kind of zoom out the window and then around to the next location, the camera kind of sees that these are floating cities, or floating what's the right word, houses, floating blocks.
Mhm.
Very reminiscent of Bestman,
Okay.
where basically we'll see speeders go back and forth between them and land, and it looks like one is a maintenance block that's kind of suspended in air, one is a housing block, and we see all these different suspension areas that seem to be connected by these speeders flying back and forth.
Awesome. So got that scene in the background. Ray, we see Finn has returned. What is your like what does that scene look like when you see Finn again after a while?
I think Ray is kind of pushing her way through the crowd, people working in this like command center, and she sees Finn, and she has this big smile, and he turns around, and she almost tackles him in a big hug, and they're really happy to see each other again. And she's bombarding him with questions about the mission, and he's asking things about what they were doing here. They're kind of talking over each other.
Absolutely. Rose, where are you in that we get the camera on that scene? What do we see?
Yeah, so I think the focus is on the two of them, on Ray and Finn. And in the background, we see Rose, and Rose is doing maintenance on a speeder that's there in the background. And the one time we really see a reaction is whenever Ray jumps into Finn's arm and gives a big hug. We see kind of Rose distractedly, kind of looks in that direction, and then cracks something like, oh, and she cusses a little bit and gets back to it, and she's scowling a little bit. Yeah.
Let's have you roll inner conflict.
Oh yeah, that sounds great.
We'll come to you in a second, Poe.
An inner conflict basically is, do I roll with my?
You can roll with any element except for your conflict element. And you've switched your conflict element to wood.
So then I think I'm going to roll it with earth because of focus and presence and all
Sure,
of that.
absolutely.
Let's roll that. Snake eyes.
Snake eyes. So I think there is that bit where like you see them in each other's like in that hug, and like that's when it's cut off, and like you can't tell whether they embraced further or what. And I think that's going to eat at you. Go ahead and mark Earth. And Poe, I think you see Rose's reaction. Like you're there too. You see that happen, and you absolutely see Rose's reaction. Like she can't hide that. What do we see you do when that happens?
I think that I'm going to approach Rose and just give her a big smile and say, no, don't tell me you're jealous.
And she kind of ducks her head, and she's kind of like, I don't know what you're talking about. She goes back to trying to fix whatever she's broken, right? There's pieces that are there, and she's like, what are you talking about?
I think I'm gonna put my hand on Rose and be like, well, you might not know what you're talking about, but or I might not know what I'm talking about, but this thing certainly does. Hey,
And I think she jumps a little bit with that physical contact, like, yeah.
yeah. Hey, look at me. Finn is like my bestest friend. Okay. There's absolutely nothing going on there.
Well, you should tell him that. And then I think she kind of says, you know, if I cared.
What would I be able to say that might comfort Rose here?
Oh, yeah, I think one thing that would definitely get through to her is if you actually reach down and help fixing this. And I think you do something fairly simple that makes everything to come together.
Yeah, it's Star Wars, right? So I like Rod said earlier, right? I reach in, I turn something, and like, and it just comes to life.
And I think she looks at you in surprise and then kind of backs off and is like, oh, well, you know, and like she doesn't have anything to distract herself anymore. And she says, well, I mean, I was just so worried about him, and you know, I'm glad he made it back okay. So just like everybody else. And I think that's all it was. It wasn't anything, you know, wasn't anything that we really need to talk about, Poe. Yeah. Did you have anything that you wanted to push on here?
I wanted to, well, I just noticed that, I mean, yeah, I think.
Well, let's start here. We've kind of triggered a move here.
Okay.
Let's do the comfort and support.
Sure.
Let's see what that looks like and see how that rolls things forward, because it feels like that's part of what's happening here.
Yeah.
What do you want to roll that with?
Let's roll that with Earth
Okay,
presence.
feels
Let's
right.
see how that goes. Yeah. Oh, a 10.
10. So this is good. So first off, Rose, you could clear the earth that you just marked, or give Poe a bond with you.
Actually, I get to have both.
And then in the other half of that is oh wait, that's right. You've got both. You get that double thing.
I do, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you get both of those. And then Poe, for the 10 plus, you can also clear an element and give Rose a bond with you.
Okay.
Because this is what you're good at.
Yeah, somehow Poe gets through to people.
So I clear an element and I get a bond with Poe.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good use of that move. So what does that look like, Poe, to kind of finish out that moment, that scene?
I want to introduce something into the fiction here. I think Poe is going to take out this book, and it's one of the books that we saw at the end of The Last Jedi.
Okay.
That Rey acquired, right? And I show it to Rose, and I say, look, Rey has actually brought me into some of this Force stuff, and we can't use it like she can, but there's a reason why there was a whole church set up around some of this Force stuff. Like, some of it works. Why don't you let me show you? And I think maybe Rey has been teaching him some meditation stuff, and he's trying to bring in Rose into that, if she lets him.
I like that. So I think that's kind of how we close out that scene there. So we're going to move a little bit to the meta here. The talking about where we go from here. So I have a set of ideas for what it is that Lando tells you like what is on the table and information gained from DJ, and we'll kind of play this out in a moment here. But I want us to take a look, and we can pick one, or if we want to do the classic 2 parallel groups moving, we can choose 2 of these things. So if you look at the themes tab, I have a list of what I came up with as 6 interesting locations and secrets there. So the first one is a location of or access to the First Order shipyard. We saw that the First Order lost a big chunk of their fleet last time. They've lost lots of ships. This is a crucial infrastructure thing. This path would probably be meeting a contact or finding out some secrets. Number 2, meeting with old separatist exiles. We know that part of the reasons that the separatists broke away is because there were problems with the Republic. And so there are still these old fringe people who have been outside, who probably were outside the rebellion and outside the Empire. That's a possibility. Number 3, location of someone has gathered young Force sensitives, or maybe there's a hidden training place, like going in and following that path. Number 4, location of a financial transfer or trade meeting for the First Order, and where that's happening and disrupting that. Number 5 is Darth Vader's castle, which is established as a thing in the series. Or number 6 is a lost/abandoned Imperial fleet, like when the rebellion happened, when the Death Star, second Death Star was blown up. There were Imperial fleets that went various ways, that fled out into the Outer Rim, and there's an abandoned Imperial fleet that could be taken up. And I am of course imagining that there'd be a tie to the last Imperial fleet that Rich has been running there. But Rod, let me start with you. Are there any of these, and feel free to go like a couple of these, so we can kind of make a short list. Like, there are a couple of 3 of these that you like the most, or any that you're like, this doesn't sound like the way I'd like to go with this.
Let me pass and think about it a few
Okay,
more
sure.
seconds.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
I will pour myself another cup of coffee here as a means of catching our breath. Andish, we come to you then.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever heard about Darth Vader's castle, but I really like that one. Other than that, I kind of like the meeting with old separatists, because I one of the things I like in the 8th movie is this idea that there are all these potential allies out there, and we have with this discussion about the stormtroopers that could be turned. So we have some people inside the First Order that we could get at, and would be interesting to also have these allies that come kind of from outside the old conflict between the rebellion and the Empire.
Interesting. So Vader's castle, meeting old separatists, and we're just gonna, if we're just gonna make a short list, and then I'm gonna kind of move us in a particular direction. Stephen, thoughts, things that you like, 2 or 3 you like, or one that you're like, hey, let's not do that one, definitely, and or.
I really like the location of young Force sensitives, or a hidden training place. I think that dovetails really nicely with the finding the history of more of the First Order troopers, and kind of discovering some of that. Things to avoid, to be honest, I'd like to avoid trade sanctions and, you know,
What, you
the
don't want to have a big
economics of it.
trade?
Yeah, yeah. So I think I saw something about that about, you know, oh, the location of financial transfer and trade meeting for the First Order. I'd probably like to avoid that one. Yeah.
I think that is absolutely fair, and certainly is a good reference to the Star Wars Episode 1 there. Cisco, what are you thinking?
I too like location of young force sensitives or hidden trading places. It'd be a good way to rope in teenage Grogu if we wanted to. And I like the idea of Rey rebuilding the new order, whatever that will be. Her new, you know, the new Jedi Order.
Right. And Leia?
So I think I'm okay with any of them. The Darth Vader's castle also caught my eye. With the lost abandoned Imperial fleet, I was wondering what if there's with that fleet a half-constructed Death Star, and I don't know how people would feel like if we turn the tables where we have the Resistance has the Death Star that they need to defend against the First Order.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How about this? Let's leave that question of the Death Star as like an open question, as a possibility of something we might bring in. Let's do 2 tracks, and we can kind of split, and we'll figure out how we join these back together. One being the fact that there exist these force sensitives that someone has gathered, and the other being that someone needs to go and talk to these separatists to build and forge those ties. And if we split like 2 and 2, go that way, and then we'll look at maybe how we bring that second Death Star in, and or how we have, you know, Darth Vader's castle as a penultimate or an ultimate location. Does that sound okay? Okay. So that sets us up for what we're going to be doing. Cisco, where is Kylo Ren? When the camera finally brings us to Kylo Ren, and we've held back on this, we haven't seen him for a while. Where is he?
I think we see him on Naboo. And there is this juxtaposition of like this beautiful greenery and like the fields of Naboo, you know, and the wildlife. And there is Mr. Darcy / Kylo Ren walking through the fields with his cape, you know, looking somber. And I think, of course, there's a storm brewing in the distance approaching him.
And Rod, who else do we see here? Like, is it Hux? Is it Phasma? Is it the Knights of Ren? Is it something else? Like, what do we see beyond Kylo Ren there?
I think I think the Knights of Ren accompany him, kind of trail him, but at a certain place he kind of like, you know, puts up a hand and they fall back, and he kind of walks alone at this particular garden.
And we see that tension rise. We can see that. I think we're going to get a brief moment of one of the Imperials coming forward and saying, Supreme Leader, we've tracked the most recent location of General Organa, and the rebellion, but they seem to have fled. Andish, what is the reaction there? Is it hot? Is it cold? What do we see? He's just heard that his mother and probably Rey has escaped. They've been up to something.
I think his reaction is relatively subdued, and he says something like, "That was to be expected. We will pick up their trail again soon enough."
And we see him begin to move. Stephen, what's the turn here? This is Kylo Ren. He is a force of anger. He's a force of hatred. He's here on Naboo. And his Imperials are leaving. Like, what's the bad thing that happens now? Because Kylo Ren has been here. What do we see?
I think what you see is he walks up into, it looks like a temple, very Greek oriented. And as he walks up the steps and passes through a doorway, you can see it's sort of a mausoleum. And he kneels at that, at the grave that's in the center. And this would be his grandmother, right? He says, "Grandmother, help me find all those that you cared for." And as he's giving his little speech thing, the camera kind of spins around to the other side so we can see him head on. And through the doorway, we just see smoke and destruction and fires. And like all that beauty that was on Naboo is just in rubble. And we probably see people falling in bodies and, the gratuitous, flyby of something that's shooting and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And we see him looking up, pained. We're not sure where the pain is coming from before we cut away.
May I add to that?
Absolutely.
I think he looks up in pain, and I'd like to see, I want to check in. Is it okay that we have that connection between Rey and Kylo Ren? Like we saw in the movie, Anders? Maybe you see this mausoleum for a moment, and then you come back.
What do you see? What's your reaction to that, Rey?
I think I think Rey is still hoping to be able to turn Kylo like Luke turned Anakin back, and save him from the darkness within himself. So I think she perks up and immediately starts. She wants to figure out where could this be? Where is he? What is he doing? Is there some way I could reach him or find him?
What do you want to roll that with? Your use of the Force here.
Ooh, oh, cool. Yeah, I didn't even think that far. Yeah, this is. Ooh, I think it's water, like awareness.
Okay.
Or wood, curiosity. Yeah. Doesn't matter. It's +1 anyway. But wood, yeah. So let me see. The dice roller is texting today. Oh wow, that's a 13.
That is a
Of course.
13. So you absolutely reach out to him, and like now we see him standing, the temple starting to collapse behind him as he stepped out into this. Where are you?
You know, I can't tell you that. Did you do this? And this is the first time she really registers all the destruction around him.
This is your fault.
I'm not the one killing and destroying. You're the one who's choosing to do this.
And you have let it happen.
The only way I could prevent it is by killing you, or if you let me help you.
There is another path, another side.
You're too lost in the darkness, the shadow of Vader. You need to look to your parents.
Well, at least you have a mother now. And I think there'll be that cutting off of the connection. Leia, what do we see of you reacting or feeling in this scene here?
I think she'll be in her quarters drinking, and you know, her hand will shake, and the cup of tea she was drinking drops, and she kind of, you know, like looks up, and she's trying to grab onto some thread, because she did sense Kylo's presence, but there's nothing there.
And I think that's where we're going to cut. Let's take our first break here. And when we come back, we'll split and get the situation described and figure stuff out. Okay. So take 10. So I think we get that classic, you know, planning room there with the big lit table and the holograms. We can see the cloud stuff in the background, and we see the various rebel officers there, some of them in new uniforms and insignia, like we definitely see, of course, Lieutenant Connix, who I didn't know that's Carrie Fisher's daughter playing Lieutenant Connix. So we see all of those characters, and we see Lando there. We see maybe a couple of the other people that were smugglers in there. Grogu is there. Still haven't heard Grogu talk. We're still not sure how he talks, but he's kind of, you know, hanging around the edges, you know, looking at people. BB-88 is probably still kind of rolling around him, trying to figure out what he is. And we definitely see DJ, our rogue from the last movie, is there, though he is probably in cuffs at this point, kind of off to the side. And Lando will say, I have pulled together the information that you wanted, and I have 2 leads based on the agents that we spoke to. The first one is that we have arranged a meeting with the separatists, old guard, rebels against the Republic, groups that fled during the Clone Wars, that fled into wild space in the Outer Rim, that were no friends to the Republic, but were certainly no friends to what it became, the Empire, and now the First Order. We've been making outreaches to them for the last 10 years, and now that has borne some fruit, but they want to meet with a representative. The planet Zaja is to be the location of that meeting. And someone, and looks at Princess Leia, looks around, someone has to go and speak with them, convince them that they need to throw their weight behind this. And then he says, this other piece of information is a little more sketchy. And Lando steps back and points to DJ, who kind of stands up, comes over, kind of drops the handcuffs on the table in that classic style. So whatever it is you do, and kind of gestures to Rey, whatever it is you call it, what magic, the Force, whatever. Someone has been finding people with that skill, with that talent over the last 20 years. Certainly, we know that there was the failed, looks at Leia, Skywalker Academy. And we know that Supreme Leader Snoke also hunted down people, but there was another group out there moving. To what end? We don't know. When I say we, I don't actually include myself. I'm just using the royal we. I'm just the finder of information. And I hope this is enough to perhaps buy some amnesty. Looks over at Finn, looks at Rose. Maybe a little bit of kindness. I have information that the planet Skynara on the Outer Rim, that's a focal point, a meeting point, a launch point for whoever is gathering these people. And that if you go there, you probably can track back and find out what is going on. It's not much, but I hope it's enough to appease some of you. And everyone kind of looks at Leia at that point.
I say thank you for this information. And I'm going to gesture to 2 guards. If you could please wait for us outside, because he's not going to be the rest of the meeting.
Oh, no, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. You have great food here. They could just take me down to the cells. I'd be happy with that.
We aim to serve.
And they will lead him out. And then the everyone kind of looks expectantly at the leaders: Poe, Rey, Rose, Leia.
I think Rose kind of interposes herself and, forces or faces Leia and says, "We can't trust him. We know he's betrayed us before."
I'm actually going to look to Lando as our expert in scoundrels. What would you say about this man?
I'd say he's a turncoat and a mercenary, but I have reason to believe that he knows what he's talking about in this case. And I fear that it's going to be a race if that information is out there. I don't think he's setting you up for a trap, but I don't think what's going on there isn't going to involve a lot of danger.
And I think that, Rose looks between the two of them, senses a little bit of history, and steps back. And I think that whenever she steps back, she kind of aligns right with where Finn is, like stands right next to him.
And Finn kind of looks over and nods like, "You're right to say that."
I'll look to both Rose and Finn. I'll say, I understand you have history with him, but we can trust him to act to his nature. So please do keep an eye on him, though.
And I think we both nod, yes.
Rey, what is the expression of your face? What is it clearly that you're thinking here?
I think Rey is very conflicted about this. She knows Leia should be the one to go. Oh, sorry. Did you want to say something? No? Okay.
No.
Sorry. It sounded like.
Oh, no. I was opening a soda can. You may have heard that.
Ah, okay. She knows Leia should be the one to go meet with the separatists because it's a big political thing. She has experience with that more than any of the rest of us. But she kind of also wants Leia to be the one, or at least one of those who go see these other Force users. And she's worried that she and or Leia will lead Kylo to wherever we go, that he can find us and figure out what we're doing and try to stop us. So she's confused. She's not sure what she's doing. I should probably roll in the conflict.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a moment of "I've endangered the mission" kind of reaction there on your part. If I go, will Kylo be able to follow me? What do you want to roll that with?
Yeah, so I can't roll with fire and I can't roll with earth because earth is marked.
And you can don't forget, you can always look at it as the negative side of that too.
Yeah, I keep landing on metal, which is my -1, but scared fits and control and calculation fits. So I think that's what I have to roll with.
Let's have you roll then.
Need to -1. And that's a 6.
That is a 6. Do you want to burn a bond to get that to a 7?
Yeah. I think I'll burn my bond with Finn. She looks to Finn and he sort of he kind of nods at her like he trusts her judgment. And that helps her a little bit, but the 7 is still not great, I think.
So your choice is, do you want to mark metal to kind of keep yourself there, or do you want to kind of like step back and very kind of visibly retreat from the discussion?
Yeah, I think the latter. I think
Okay.
she even though Finn seems to trust her, she doesn't trust her own judgment on this. She realizes that her thoughts are clouded by her desire to help Kylo, but that could put everyone in danger. She's not thinking clearly.
There are a lot of people that are looking to Rey, like Rey's going to lead, Rey has saved us, this has to do with the Jedi, and I think we do see Rey kind of literally and figuratively kind of step back, and maybe there's some nervousness amongst the staff there.
I think I want to come in, and since Ray and I have been, like we established that we have been talking about the Force and how important it is, I think Poe will step up and say, hey, now is not the time to be shy. Have we heard that there's possible kids involved or no?
They've Force sensitive persons, Force sensitive youth certainly
Okay.
have the sense that it could involve that.
Okay, so I think I'll connect the dots and say like, hey, we don't know, like we know that Kylo Ren has taken children before. And if there's Force sensitive users, or if there are people connected to the Force, then they're gonna be scared and they need you there, Ray. You need to be the one to take point on this. I believe in you.
But if I go there, that could be what puts them in even more danger. Kylo can sometimes Kylo and I, we connect through the Force, and if he finds out where we are, that could put everything in jeopardy.
I'm gonna push this. I'm gonna take out the book that you gave me, and there's actually like some journal entries from Luke in there, and it's like his reflection on what it was like leaving Dagobah and going after his friends. It's like, look, I don't know much about this Force stuff, but I think sometimes you gotta follow your heart.
Let's have you roll that comfort and support, Poe.
Okay. I will roll with, let's see. Maybe wisdom, maybe attempted wisdom.
Okay.
So water. I don't know that this is the wisest thing, but he's trying. Oh gosh, another 10.
Okay. So both of you may clear an element, and you may each take a bond with the other. Ray, it is, do you feel like you can open up? Does it feel like that's like he's like Poe says something that can help you?
Yeah, I think this makes her willing to take the risk, because Luke was taking a risk when he left Dagobah. His training wasn't complete, but he still had to do what he thought was right, and trying to save these people, or make contact with them and make sure they don't fall into the hands of the First Order. That is what Rey feels is the right thing to do.
And Lando will turn to General Organa, turn to Leia and say, how do you want to play this, Leia?
Right. So, Well, I guess I'll touch base with the characters first if they have a preference before I start directing you anyone
Sure.
anywhere. Steve, did you have a particular leaning?
My first leaning is to make sure that we kind of split things 2 and 2, because I don't want any character to be so off on their own. My leaning would be to keep an eye probably on DJ. If DJ is going to, because he knows the lay of the land of Skynara, then I'd like to go that direction, I think.
Okay. I think okay, that makes sense.
But I'm flexible either way.
Right. No, for a second I was wondering if I should bring DJ with me. But he probably has more information that might actually help you a bit more. Yeah. And Cisco, did you have a particular leaning or not?
I'm also flexible, but I'm liking if Teenage Grogu is going to Skynara. Yeah, I want to roll with that cat. I'm excitedly waiting to hear him talk.
Well, the thing is that Ray, I think Ray should go to Skynara, so that would be the three of you. I'm fine with Leia going, but if we wanted 2 and 2, then would you mind coming with me, Cisco, Poe? All right. Okay.
I mean,
Good.
we could do. I think one way to kind of mollify Rey's worries would be that she and Leia went together, because it seems like Kylo is after them in particular, so that the other mission is kind of more of a stealth mission, more hidden maybe, if you want to do it that way.
Then who goes where? That's a tough call there.
I mean, Rey wants to go to Skynara, but me as a player, I'm fine either way. So,
well, one way we can do this, actually, let me make a suggestion based on some of the conversation here. If Leia and Poe go to this meeting with the Separatists, but Grogu goes with them, just because you don't necessarily want to put him at risk, and maybe an uncertainty, Rey, about having to take care of another Force user there, and then have Rose and Rey go to Skynara. How does that sound? Sound like a reasonable split?
I think so.
I'd also like to send Finn to Skynara, just so we get that weird tension between the three
Well,
characters.
that's good.
Okay.
Oh, I vote for that.
All right. So Finn, Rey, and Rose are going to Skynara with DJ.
Ray Rosen, yes.
And then Leia, Poe, and Grogu are going to the Separatists, right?
Right.
Okay.
Who wants C-3PO?
Well, he's a protocol droid, so I think you have to take him with you, right?
Okay.
Oh dear.
All right.
And BB-8, of course, is coming with me.
Right. So I'll assume that the Millennium Falcon is in play for the Skynara. We see that. Let's do a quick once around, a chance to call a scene or do a moment before we split the party here. Before we head out, before things split, in that moment we do a chance to catch breath or talk to people, what do you want to call scene wise, Leia?
I think I need to speak with Ray.
Okay. So Ray, where does Leia find you? Where are you when she comes to talk to you?
I think I've just done one of those running in the forest training courses. She's trying to clear her head by doing some exercises. So she's coming back all sweaty and just pulling off this blinding helmet thing.
Right. I think it would be fun, like if as you're running the course, Leia actually will join part of it, like near
Oh
the
yeah,
end.
yeah, that's great. That's great.
Like yeah, like helping fight some training droids and whatnot.
Mhm, mhm.
Um,
And Leia, Rey is surprised at first, but then she knows what's going on, and they kind of get in sync and fight together.
Nice. I think you're muted, Rod. Still can't hear you. Oh. I think we can hear you now. Let's there we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, good. So yeah, I since you were unsettled during the meeting, how are you feeling about this mission?
I know it's something we have to do, and I want to do it, but I'm worried about. I think she says Kylo first, and then corrects herself to Ben, and then she doesn't know what. Yeah, Kylo Ben. He's we have this connection, and I'm worried that he will find out where we are or figure out where we're going. He's so lost in the shadows.
I don't think he knows if he's Kylo or Ben, to be honest. But just remember that whatever danger he poses to you, you two affect him as well. And we need to use that as well as best as we can. I think even with the danger, I think you are the best candidate to lead this mission. And to be honest, I wish I could go with you myself.
So do I, and I'm not afraid for myself. I know he's dangerous, but with everything that you have taught me and Master Luke has taught me, I believe I can hold my own against him. But if he figures out where we're going and he gets there first, it could be devastating.
Yes, unfortunately, when it comes to my son, there's too much destruction possible. I might not see you for a long time. Tell no one this, but after I speak with the separatists, it is likely that I'm going to go try to find my son. If things go wrong, you might need to do what I couldn't.
But you're going to see him alone?
Yes.
I won't question your choices, but it seems very, very dangerous.
Yes, again, but I'm part of the reason of this for this danger. And I remember something Rose had said, that we have to fight. We won't win this war by fighting what we hate, but by saving what we love. And if I don't make this attempt, it's possible that if I do succeed, maybe this war can be won not by armies, but by two people coming back together. I haven't told anyone else yet.
I know they would try to stop you if they knew. I won't say anything.
Thank you.
And I think Ray embraces Leia, and yeah, maybe that's where we got.
I'd like to do it as a comfort and support move.
Yeah.
And I think this is
Is this you comforting me or me comforting you?
I mean, I initially wanted, to show you that I do support you and that I'm comfortable with depending on you when the need arises. I think this might have to be fire. Well, no, I'm trying to confer.
Does this feel like water? Is this wisdom?
I can't use water because it's my conflict, or can I do that?
You can for comfort and support. You just can't
Okay.
use it for inner conflict.
Right, that's right. Okay, yeah, I will use water then. So 2 dice, modifier 2. And roll. An 11.
11.
Yeah.
So Ray can clear an element or give you a bond with her. And then you get to choose about clearing an element for yourself or giving her a bond with you.
So I'll give you a bond because all my elements are clear currently.
Okay. And I'm going to clear an element.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a stronger connection there through that discussion. Let's cut to Poe. Scene with a PC, with an NPC. What do you want to do?
I think you see me in my bunk, and there's kind of like this thought bubble where like we're replaying the scene where like I'm walking away from Ray and Ray is walking away from me, right into like the two groups that have split.
Mm-hmm.
And it is like a shot of like half of my face, and then Ray is like walking behind me, and then later like Star Wars fans would like mix this in with some very emotional music and put it up on YouTube. But I think I am sitting here conflicted about the fact that I encouraged Ray to go to this planet, and now I'm not going with her. And I think Poe's sitting here being like, did I tell her to go because I was being selfish, or am I finally growing? And is it okay to feel conflicted here? I'd like to roll inner conflict.
Sure.
Okay. And I will roll with anything but Earth. Oh yeah, I'll roll with Passion. All right. Oh, 11.
11. you keep yourself together. How do we see that? Like, is it a prompt in the environment, or is it your own self-discipline? Like what shows us that you kind of find some resolution here?
I think we hear wow 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 wow, and like another hatch opens, and like a really awkward hand type appendix comes out and taps me on the knee, and it's BB-8. And I think I've had like this book that Ray has given me open this whole time, and there's a line in there that says, you know, when we ascend back into, like when we ascend and become part of the Force again, you take nothing with you. The only thing that you take with you is your own spiritual force and the relationships that you made on this side. And I think it's maybe at that moment that Poe realizes that maybe he needs to do some relational repairing with BB-8. And I think
Nice.
I think he's gonna take this time to, like, you know, apologize for brushing aside his feelings of anxiety on our last mission when I just kicked him off the building. So
And I think if you take that scene, just as we would clear an element, if you had a chance to do that, I think you may take a bond with the NPC, take a bond
okay,
with BB-8.
awesome.
Rose, what do we see of you here in this departure, getting ready to go, leaving?
So I think Rose, has finished packing up, the equipment that's needed, and making sure that's on the ship. And I think she walks up, and she has like a grease smudge on her face. And I think she walks up as Leia and Rey are kind of parting. And she kind of nods to uh, General Organa, and kind of turns to Rey and says, I've been going over some information. So I've been talking with Poe, and Poe tells me that you've been a guide, you've been a source of wisdom, which is, interesting, and it's a good thing to express. But one thing that really called out to me that Poe said is, and she just witnessed this emotional connection between Leia and Rey, and says, attachment is not a failure, and it's important to recognize those that care for us and that we care for. And I think that Leia recognizes these words are Luke's, right? Those are from the little sketched in stuff that he wrote in that book briefly. But of course, Rose has no idea about this. It's just quoting what Poe has said. And she's just trying to say something to make the scene a little bit less awkward. But I think it has like really deep meaning, especially to the viewers of the movie. Like, okay, she just stumbled into something that's going on. And it basically says, and I think the attachments that we are searching out, we're going to go find those kids, and we're going to make sure that they make it back, and can grow into a world that's worth living.
Sorry, so was this directed at one of us or both, or what was the situation there?
Yeah, I think it was primarily directed at Rey because we're going on the mission together. But I think it also drew the attention of Leia because of the words rang true from what you'd seen before. So, and I'm not sure if there's a move there. Could potentially be comfort and support, because I think that's what Rose's idea was she's just trying to make things a little bit less awkward and bond with these people that she's a little bit of a stranger with.
This is intended to build bonds. Let's have you roll that comfort and support.
Okay.
You can roll that with anything but wood.
I think I'm going to roll that with
water. You can roll that with anything. Sorry.
Okay. See, I'm going to roll that with water. Oh, that's a 10.
That is a 10. So you can take a bond, and I'm going to say with both of them.
Okay.
And then Leia, Ray, you may both take a bond with Rose. I like the idea that we hear those words, we kind of see those fade out when maybe see some reaction there. Ray, what is your scene here as you get ready to leave?
Yeah, well, my initial idea was exactly what Rod set up with Leia. So I don't feel like I don't really feel like I need anything more.
Yeah, we just see you getting your things set. I think we see you hopping into the co-pilot seat there beside Chewbacca, and getting ready to fly. It's a little early, but let's take our next break. Let's take 5. Take a bio. We'll come back and we'll get you to on planet for both of these scenes. Go ahead.
I think that I have this book in front of me, and Ray is maybe already flying away, and I want to roll study to see if something interesting in this book catches my eye.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you want to roll that with?
I would like to roll it with maybe focus.
Okay.
Yeah, something that catches my eye. That seems
Have
good.
you roll?
All right. So rolling with Earth. Oh, another 10.
Another 10. So that's 2 hold to
Okay.
ask a question or make a declaration.
I'm gonna make a declaration.
All right.
And this is what we see, right? I think I'm having my moment with BB-8, and then I look back down, and then I slam the book open, and I'm running through like the halls of wherever we are, and I'm cutting a corner as Ray is pulling out, and I'm doing the obligatory screaming after Ray, 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 and I'm like, pushing buttons, and like doors are not opening fast enough, and then I come up to the hatch where like I see Ray's ship leaving. And I think what I have found out is a way to block the bond that Ray has with Kylo Ren.
Ooh, interesting. Absolutely. I think that will be what would be in a wuxia, would be the maneuver to change your scale or to do something. We have a move for that we'll consider if and when it comes into play later on. Does that sound good? You still got another hold. Do you want to do anything with that?
Ooh.
Another declaration or a question you want to ask?
Oh. Ask a question about the situation. I'm gonna pull the table.
Anybody want to establish a fact, or Rose?
One thing you could do is you could I'm just brainstorming here, but you could come up with ideas about Luke's learning on how to deal with younglings or young ones. You could also learn Kylo Ren's scale from that move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Kylo Ren thing, he is above your scale. I think that's a given.
Okay. I kind of like where Steven's going. I want to find out a useful piece of information about where Ray is going. Like maybe there's some old records there. Yeah, something that would be useful to Ray.
Okay. So we'll kind of maybe want to like transfer that hold that she can declare something later on. Does that seem like a fair way to handle that? Or do you have something you want to set up specifically?
I want to set up some
Sure.
some Star Wars BS
Okay.
where like I get on the comm, and for whatever reason there's a nebula in space or something. It's like, and I can only pass on one bit of information to Rey. Either something that's going to be critical on that planet, that if I don't get it through, it's going to cause major problems, or that, you know, that she can break this bond with Kylo.
And how do you want to resolve that? Like what's your goal here? Is this the thing we're rolling, or what are you doing?
I think I'm like banging on the hatch, and I'm like, no, Rey. And I like immediately pack up, and then I go run to like communications, right? And there's some officer in one of those like clear screens, you know, where they're like just moving stuff for no reason. And I like bump them over, right? And I take their headset, and they're like, General, you know, or no, I'm Captain, yeah, Captain, right? And I'm like, beep, boop, 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 boop. I'm like, Rey, and on her end, it's coming all like, you know.
Oh, is that you? I can't hear you. There's too much interference.
And Dash, what do you want to know? I'll put it on your end.
I think you start with this thing about the planet, and then you try to also tell me, you just start to tell me that, and you can break the bond, and that's where it cuts out.
Awesome. So she doesn't know how to break this bond with Kylo Ren yet, but yeah, let's let her have a hold.
Knows that it's a possibility.
Mhm.
That's an important establishing fact there. I think that's reasonable. So we cut to the ships going in different directions, and I think, you know, we do that wipe transition to the group arriving, Leia, Poe, Grogu, arriving there at Zadja. So let me start with Poe. Tell me something about this planet. This is, we're gonna have a meeting with the separatists here. What's the planet that we see?
I'm quickly looking at Wikipedia to see what has already been said, if anything interesting. Surface consists of oceans broken up by archipelagos of white sanded beaches. Okay. I think that we see a, you know, this blue planet that we approach. And I think that we at first see like what looks to be like really small continents all broken up, but they're actually mega cities that that look like giant like oil rigs, but that can house, you know, maybe hundreds of thousands of people, maybe 1 million.
So it's almost like we've got kind of an ocean-based Corsican kind of megaplex thing there. And so we got that stark contrast of these big metal urban structures with the blue oceans there. And you will descend down, and it has a look of a place that has seen better days. It has certainly been once a prized place, but has fallen off. And you are at the sort of very edges of the outer rim. What else do we see here, Leia, that makes you maybe uneasy?
Maybe there's a port, and there's fewer ships than I would have hoped for, meaning there's fewer separatists who are willing to meet with us at this time.
And probably have an attaché with you, comment to them about that. But the door will on the outside will open. We've got that kind of ocean spray on the walkway there coming from your ship, and you will see a pair of persons sort of at the lead of this. There are other separatists behind them, but you have the sense that these two are kind of the ones who are in charge. One of them being one of those classic Trade Federation characters from the very first film, and the other one being humanoid, sort of blue-gray tinted skin. The first one comes forward and reaches out his hand and says, "I am K. Debick, General."
K. Debick, thank you for meeting with us. I know this is unusual, to say the least, but I think this meeting will set the course of the galaxy in days to come.
I hope so. It is for my people a strong gesture that you would come, given your family's history.
If you know my family's history, you know that we've fought on many sides, but we've always fought for the truth. At least myself and my brother.
And the woman with the there will say, "Yes, but your mother was at the heart of what crushed the separatists so many years ago."
I think we both agree that Senator Palpatine played us against each other. My mom was as much a pawn as you and your race was. And I think that's our common bond.
And she kind of mutters, "Convenient." But Kate Debick kind of like gestures, and these people are on the NPC tab, by the way. Kate Debick, this is old history. Let us not rehash all of this, but let us talk. We want to hear what happened on Kashyyyk and the story of the escape from your own eyes, from your own lips. And he will turn. Are you Poe Dameron?
Pleased to meet you.
I understand that you are the greatest pilot in the rebellion.
Wow. Some would say that, I suppose. I think he's trying to be humble, but it's super not working. Like, you could tell he's like very pleased to hear that.
And Kid Debick will say, come with us. We will go and meet with the others. And he will, yes.
I think we see C-3PO turn to Poe and say, like, "Master Poe, I don't believe," and then Poe doesn't listen to him, and then he just leans into him and says, "I have a bad feeling about this.
Yep.
I would like to study the moment."
All right,
okay.
Let's have you roll.
Okay.
Oh, also, we are at the midpoint of the series, so if you haven't already taken both of your free pick moves, those are still open, but you now have available a third one.
Let me see if there's anything that will help me with my roll right at this moment. Oh, when you study a situation looking for potential trouble. Yeah, I'll use that.
Okay.
We are the
Let's-
spark. Okay, cool. And I'm gonna roll with water, so +1. I'm rolling really well today, you guys. 11.
So you get 2 hold.
Okay.
And as well, so you can ask the other the questions that are listed under that move are free if you want to ask one of those, and then you've got 2 hold to ask study questions or make declarations.
Okay. Are we walking into a trap?
Is this your, so this is your one of your hold spend questions, right?
This is one of my questions, yeah.
How about yes and no? Like you can tell that there's something going on here. Like someone is probably but that K-Debic and the separatists are here like they are sincere, and they there is at least a portion of them that are here for this purpose, to meet and speak.
I think that I said I have a bad feeling about this loud enough for General Organa to hear. General, do you acknowledge that, like, you heard that?
Yeah, I definitely, you know, just a very slight, a subtle cock of the head that Poe would recognize.
Cool. Okay, now we're aware, and then I think I'll hold my hold for later.
Okay. Do you want to ask one of those questions? The free questions?
Those questions are free, right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you get to get one of those questions for
cool.
free in addition to that hold. You still have one hold left.
Awesome. Who exactly is the traitor here?
Oh, well, that's a very much Thumara.
Okay.
You can tell that she is unhappy with this. She's unhappy with all of this. She doesn't hold as much sway in amongst the separatists as she would like, and there's sort of old bad blood there.
Awesome.
Was she the one that has said very convenient, or that's
yes
convenient? Okay.
Yeah. So Leia, is there anything that you want to do as you're walking in, as you're brought into the meeting room? We'll cut away after this, but I want to know if there's any move or anything you want to trigger here.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the I can ask a free question from the study.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask, if I can find the tab. Question about escape route. Ask question about a person. Question. I want to see who's really in charge amongst the separatists that the others will look up to, and if I can turn that person, then there's a good chance I can turn the others.
Yeah, I think that you will pick out from among the people like K-Debic and Thumar are kind of the vocal people here, but I think there is an older person here. You suspect maybe even K-Debic's mother or grandmother, who is at the back, who is watching all of this, and when things are said, K-Debic and Tamara and some of the other leaders are talking, but people look to her to see her reaction. Like she's very clearly the person to talk to. And I think when you notice that, I think that her eyes will meet yours, and she will nod as if to say, as if to acknowledge you. We'll come back to that scene. So, Rey, Rose, Finn. Rey is up piloting through this, and it's a long way out to kind of wild space here at the very edge of past Endor, past those systems, certainly off any of the major routes as you head here to Skynara. Tell me something when we finally come out of hyperspace and we see Skynara and start to descend. Like, what's the landscape here, Rose? What do we see?
I think we see Skynara has rings. And there are two rings that kind of encircle, not in a cross shape, but a little bit off.
Mm-hmm.
And as the ship flies through it, and goes to land on the planet, we see big shadows cross over the ship from those rings. And I think whenever we touch down, it's rolling grasslands,
Uh-huh.
like a plane. But we see one of those shadows that just seems to be going very fast across the plains coming towards us.
And I imagine that maybe we see, pulled by the wake of the ship, one of those pieces from the rings will kind of hit the atmosphere in a kind of a brilliant, like, pyrotechnic show. Like we see that in the air, almost like fireworks, some kind of atmospheric reaction there. Ray, what is the city, Star Wars city, that we see that you've landed by with the Millennium Falcon? Like, what's the weird feature of it that makes it our space city here?
I think there are like kind of boxy, rounded but kind of box-shaped houses, buildings of various sizes, and there are a lot of walkways suspended between them. People travel a lot by those, and maybe like what do you call it? Not zip lines, but like carriages on cables.
Okay, cable cars.
Yeah, cable cars. Yeah.
So,
That sort of thing.
so lots of the kind of built up high with these cross and walkways and things like that. Probably lots of that sort of Star Wars kind of people have built stuff around the edges of things and maybe climb off and cling. There's a lot of that. Like right away you'll realize that when that pyrotechnics happen in the atmosphere, like it immediately begins to rain. And so you kind of have to get out of this mud that is the street level and start moving through this hive of scum and villainy. And DJ will say, we're looking for a woman named Rasara Black. Find her. She'll be able to give us the other information that we need here.
And I think Rose, whenever DJ kind of speaks up, kind of scowls at him a little bit and like walks past and shoulder checks him and says, "Let's get a move on."
So what do we see? Rose, this is like actually more your element than it is Finn's or Ray's. And I think strangely enough, there's a moment where maybe you expect them to lead, but Ray's raised on a desert planet, interacting with very few people, and Finn was raised as stormtrooper. So they maybe look to you. What do you do?
So I think what Rose does is she kind of looks around at the rest of them, and they seem to kind of be maybe murmuring a little bit, and she just kind of shakes her head and says, "This way." And she basically walks forward and looks around and sees, there's this probably a really well-to-do kind of house or a hotel or something, and she kind of looks at that, and then she surveys the rest of the town. Should this be a roll, or do you want me to just declare it?
Let's just study. Let's see how well this goes.
Study with let's do study with water, which is +1. And that's a 5.
So I think you are moving along here and heading towards this area. Finn is beside you. Ray is there. And you've kind of asked a few people, and people have directed. And I think there's a moment when you're moving through this street alley that you hear the tone of things change, and kind of look behind, and you see some figures kind of fall in at one end of the street. And then out in front, you see another set of figures step forward. And one of them has some kind of weird weapon. What is the weird weapon, Andish, that this leader person has?
I think it's some kind of hafted weapon, two-handed, with like a long, wicked hook on it that's kind of curved and sharp and has kind of little spikes coming off it.
Yeah, and it's got these couple groups here, and this figure steps out, and they're very clearly blocking your way. And that's the moment, Rose, when DJ kind of leans forward and says, maybe I should have mentioned that I maybe owe some debts around here. And you see them look, and the sort of the alien garbled speak, and the guy next to him says, all right, we're going to kill all of you. And it goes, oh, and take your things. I lost that in translation. Ray, what do you do? We've got a named baddie, his translator assistant. We've got a group of troops behind and a group of troops in front. What do you want to do?
Oof. Yeah, I kind of want to go to the Force here, even though it's maybe not the smart thing to do.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I think she steps forward towards this person, and actually, let me check. Ooh.
And you can duel using the Force just normally. If you want to like do something big and new, we go to a different move. But you can tell me how you want to. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I wanted to look at the moves I have, since I only picked one. I figured there might be something that could be relevant. Yeah, I think she steps forward and she says, I think what you will find is that you really just want to let us pass. And I want her to do something that shows very obviously that she is a Force user, but I'm not but doesn't like directly attack them. So I figure she's maybe lifting some debris, some garbage, space garbage cans or that sort of thing, just causing them to float.
Okay, so that feels like we can either read this in two ways. can read this as kind of a hearts and minds to get at least this group and named guy in front to like step back for a bit, or deal with troops, like you're actually trying to like scare this group of troops that's in front of you.
Ooh. I think she's trying to scare them. She wants them to run away. So
Then let's have you roll deal with troops.
Yeah, cool.
You roll that with your conflict element.
Yeah. So I am rolling with fire. I need to reload dice roller. Two dice plus 2. An 8.
So like, tell me what we see on screen of you using the force that like the guys behind this leader on this side like freak and run. What do we see?
I think we see them first take half a step back as they see these things start to levitate, and then we see a shot from like outside this alley, like from the side. We see several of them running away, and these cans, garbage things flying after them, knocking one of them flat, and he crawls up and runs away.
Catches one of them, they go flying. See that flying out. Rose, you've got this other set of troops that when they see stuff start to go down are kind of like they're clearly getting ready to open up. How do you deal with them?
And this is the one with the leader, is that right?
This is the one behind. So
the one behind?
Yeah.
Okay. Then the one behind, I think Rose is standing next to DJ and says, well, you got us into this trouble, you can get us out. And she pulls out this big wrench, right, that she kind of hefting like a club, and she whacks DJ on the shin. He goes down to a knee, and then she's going to grab him and drag him back towards them, and was like, you want him, you can have him. He's not, he has no use to us anymore.
Let's what's your intent here? Is this a ploy, or are you trying to convince them?
One of two things is how I see this outcome. This would be a hearts and mind against them, or this would be DJ saying how he is still worth something to us, and then we would have to defend him.
And I think he is like, I know, I am a friend of Rosara Black's. If you do this, then you are never going to get to talk to her.
And I think Rose kind of looks down with at DJ kind of in disgust, and then lets go and lets him kind of sink into the muck a little bit, and then raises that club. And let's call this a duel. I think this
deal
will be
with troops.
Yeah.
They've moved up to take a hold of him, and then you change your mind, and before they can react, let's see if you can deal with them. So roll your conflict element.
So that's a 13.
Finn is backing you up as well.
Yeah. I think that I think Finn pulled his gun, but that was about it. Pulled his blaster, but that was about it, until we heard DJ say something about Rosara, and then it was like we see this resigned look on Finn's face, and I think Rose steps up, and as one of the guys goes down to grab a hold of DJ, she just brings that wrench up and just clocks him in the face, and he kind of flips a little bit and goes down, and that's whenever Finn opens up as cover, and Rose kind of uses that to get behind something, and whenever they pull out their gun, she steps up with that wrench and trips them and knocks them down to the muck, and is just making a mess of them.
Absolutely. You lay into them with a 13. You take them out with style. They don't expect anything of you. You come out, you're taking advantage of Finn's blaster fire. You two are working as a coordinated unit, taking them out, dropping them, and they collapse, and there's a little bit of like clapping from DJ at that. Ray, this guy with the hook sword is stepping up to you. His His lieutenants are gone, but he is going to attempt to engage you. So, do you wish to duel?
Yeah, sure. Sure, let's duel.
Roll with your conflict element. He is on your scale. He's a trained leader with a nasty hook weapon. He's got some other tricks up his sleeve.
Don't forget in Dash, you have that hole to use whenever you want as well.
Yeah. Let's see what I roll a 6. But I have some bonds.
Mm-hmm.
Let me step in for a moment. I have Savior of Love.
Okay.
And I think Rose says, "We've got your back, Ray. Don't worry about this." You know, I think, can I do a comfort and support to try and immediately spend that bond to help?
Yeah.
Let's do that. See if I can get you out of trouble.
Yeah, so I think the start of the fight, Ray ignites her lightsaber, but this hook thing is made of something Beskar-like or that sort of thing, or it has a so he can kind of parry her lightsaber, and she's taken aback and realizes that she's in real danger.
Perfect.
And I'm going to roll with fire. And that's an 8.
Okay.
And you can immediately spend that bond and get +2 back from me.
Cool.
So now you're at an 8, Ray.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take the 8, or you could spend a couple bonds to get it up to a 10. It's up to you. Right now, on a 7 to 9, you can win at a cost, lose, or deadlock.
So we're on the same scale.
Yep.
Yeah, there. I think win at a cost and they escape.
Okay. What does that look like? Like what happens here? Rose kind of, got your back, so these others can't affect you. Get one-on-one with this guy. He's a dangerous foe. Like, what do you finally do to get him out of there, and then he flees?
I think she's taken aback by the initial exchange, and then Rose comes with, supports her, and I think what happens is that Ray is now she's not just fighting for herself or to defeat this person. She initially went into it kind of with a sense of pride and power, and now she realizes this is someone dangerous, but that puts her friends in danger. So now she's fighting to protect them. So she manages to hold him off. Rose is helping her, and I think he with that weird hook, he actually disarms her. He gets the lightsaber away from her, but that's when Finn comes up and starts laying down blaster fire, so this guy realizes that it's better to run away than
and that's the thing. It's 3-on-1, and he will take off, and he shouts something, and the translator who's running beside him says, "They haven't seen The Last of Us, wait, it's not exactly, never mind." And they will run off, and DJ will go, just up this way, just go ahead in that way.
I think Rose bends over and kind of pulls him up out of the muck, and he's all dripping, and it's like, "You better be worth it."
At this point, I'll do anything for a shower. Let's cut back to the events there on Saja. Leia, how are you handling these negotiations? What are you doing? What are you doing to kind of move and shift things here. Oh, you are muted, Leia.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. Okay, I think it's the the microphone and the speaker and the headphones. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think what she'll do is kind of like work the room first, kind of like, meet them individually before she speaks to them as in a group. So at least now there's, like some connection. Kind of bad motivator. Yeah, and she will meet with that grandmother as well, before she speaks to the group.
I think that's the sort of the key moment. You kind of come over, and she will say, "You were disappointed with the number of ships outside."
I'm sure that whatever happens here, the word will be spread to the other separatist exiles.
We have spent too long operating in cells, operating in scattered ways for us to change. So what you see here is merely a fragment of what we can bring to bear if your republic is sincere about returning us to the galaxy and providing us the rights that we deserve.
An injustice was done to you and the other separatists long ago. You were brought into a war that exploited you. Yes, you will be welcome, and your help is greatly needed at this hour.
Let's have your hearts and minds.
Could I add a little bit of flavor to the
Sure.
scene?
Sure.
I think that for diplomatic negotiations such as this, they have like a very ritualized sort of event going, and I want to bring some House of Flying Daggers into this, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I think they have dancers in flowing robes here, and they've served us tea, and there's a performance, and I think maybe General Organa is whispering to this matriarch in the middle of all that. Yeah, I think we definitely see dancers in flowing robes, and like they've lined up drums around, and I think they're dancing and hitting the drums at the same time.
Well, we spent some time also, like maybe there's a set of musicians, so we get a little cantina reference as well there as this is going on.
Sounds good.
Leia.
Okay. How did I just lose? Sorry.
That's okay.
Oh. 2d6. But I love that idea and that visual with the dancers.
Practical effects, no CG.
Right.
Oh yeah, all practical effects.
I rolled a 6. I would like to burn a bond.
Okay. Who's the bond are you burning with?
I think Poe is there, and I think maybe this grandmother reacts favorably to this younger, handsome man at my side.
Right.
It's been known to happen, I suppose.
And if that's okay.
And she will say, what you're asking is for us to put our lives at stake for this resistance.
Yes. I ask nothing more than what I'm willing to give myself. And
are you willing to give up your son. We know that he leads the First Order, and his fires burning across the galaxy, his reckless destruction is what has drawn us out, and we know what he is to you.
I know that. I need a moment.
Sure.
I have an idea. I have an idea, Rod.
Sure.
I think Poe will come in and say, General Organa has already sacrificed everything for the right thing. And I think we get a peek of like maybe some bruises that she still has here on her neck. And she says, do you see that injury? That is something that the general suffered under her own son firing on her and almost killing her. You don't have to worry about the general's loyalty and where her head is.
So is that comfort and support, or are you trying to also hearts and minds her?
Yeah, I think I'm also trying to talk her into.
Okay, let's have you do your hearts and minds to kind of try and push this.
Sure, yeah. I might have a okay, yeah, no, I don't have anything.
And let's have you roll.
Yeah, let's roll with Earth because presence.
Okay.
All right. Oof, I got a 6. I too can I burn a
Yeah, you can burn a
relationship point here?
bond.
A bond? Yeah, I think. And is it a bond that has to make sense? or
Whenever
can it
you're
be any
burning a bond to help yourself, you can burn any of your bonds
Okay.
and just talk about like how your connection with them is kind of pushing you forward.
Okay. Yeah, I think that I will burn a bond point that I have with Ray. And I'm just, I'm reminded about her sacrifices for the rebellion as well.
And I think that she will note that response, and she will look back at Leia, maybe a little bit mollified, but still wondering what Leia is going to say to this.
I'll say I helped lead a rebellion against my father. I'll do no less against my son.
And there is a bit, everyone is kind of now got quiet and kind of listening. And you will see her nod, and she will kind of raise her hand, and the dancers stop. And she will look and she will say, "We will join the fight with your rebellion, and we will couple our forces to yours, and we will defeat the First Order." And you'll see people are starting to clap, and then you'll hear, "I don't think so." And we see that woman stand up, and a few people beside her clearly stand up. And you'll hear the kind of a boom outside that tells you that ships have come in from hyperspace into the atmosphere. And I think, Poe, you'll feel a tug on your arm, and you'll hear, "Ah, he's here." And you can feel it, Leia. Kylo has arrived. And that's where we're going to cut that scene. And we cut back to Rose Rey, Finn, a little bit cleaned up, because Benicio doesn't want to be, muddy in all the scenes. A little bit cleaned up, DJ walking into this club, and you will see him speak to someone, and he'll direct you to the back, and you will head to that back room, and you'll see this figure. Clearly Rosara Black is seated off to one side, and she greets DJ warmly, looks around at you, Rose, Rey, and says, these are interesting guests that you've brought me. And DJ's like, I'll let them talk for themselves. And she turns to the three of you, Finn, Rose, Rey, and she says, you are not the first to come here.
Who else has been here before us?
Someone waiting for you.
So Ray is really worried at this. I think that would be quite obvious.
And you will see a figure detach itself from the shadows. And you will see the figure light up a pair of lightsabers, which flash out white in the darkness. And you will see this Twi'lek with sort of a gray mane, old. And she says, I understand that you have been looking for me and my charges. And I think we cut away from old Ahsoka there with that as the cliffhanger for that side of things. And that's where we're going to leave off for today. Kylo Ren in the skies over Skynara.
I didn't even know Lowell knew who Ahsoka was.
I had to look some stuff up, so that's where we're going to leave off. Does that sound reasonable for everybody? Okay. I would like to do a quick stars wishes for next time. Things that we want to put out in play. Stephen, is it okay if I start with you?
Sure.
Okay.
I tried to think of some stuff as we were going along. I'll start with wishes. I'd like to know more of Rod's motivation towards the saving of his son, just to make sure we're all on the same page. To see, do we make Kylo Ren to be a villain that's irredeemable, or do we push towards something else where he can be redeemed? So I'd like to know that from Rod, from Leia's perspective. And I'll wait till his turn for that. But the other is stars. So I really enjoyed seeing everything on screen. Lowell, I think I said this earlier. I like the themes tab that you've added that has all these evocative, phrases in it. I think that works out really well, and it helped me, in motivation, like what I would push Rose towards. I enjoyed the scenes. I enjoyed the scene with Poe and the development of the relationship between he and Finn and Rey and all of that. That was very good. So yeah, everything looked great.
Yeah, I think one of the things we'll try and do, like at the start of next time, we'll do a Kylo scene, kind of like frame up where he's at, is Hux there? Is a battered Phasma there? Are there, what is the motivation like? And we'll talk about how we want to play that. I think that's a really good point. Cisco.
Okay. And Dash, I really like that we got to connect and that passing on of the hold was really neat. I liked how we did that. And it was cool to see Leia Rod sort of be the general and like get to make that decision of who goes where. I think there's a lot of trust there that you're gonna do a really good job. So that was really enjoyable. Thank you for that. Lowell, thanks for bringing in Grogu and Ahsoka. Ahsoka's like my favorite, so I appreciate that homework that you did. That was great. And then Steven, that shoulder check from Rose, that was like totally
Nice.
in character. Yeah, I love that. And then letting DJ prove why he's worth saving, also very Rose. And I liked our scene together. Like you and I, you're like one of the people that I play the most with on the Gauntlet, but somehow our characters don't always have a lot of scenes in the game, so it was cool to get that in. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Any wishes?
I had a wish. Come back to me because I lost it.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Rod.
Yeah, I love I love how you're Lowell, how you're bringing us into this Star Wars world. It feels the field feels very on point, and just bringing that to life. And I love I love how Rose treated DJ as well. I thought he really got under my skin in that movie with that betrayal, but also it starts to Lowell for playing him that I don't dislike him as much here as I did in the movie. So hopefully there's hope for that character. I love the dancing that you brought in, Cisco, the dancing servants, and that was really cool. And just the general bringing Poe into the bringing him to life and in his characterization and his interactions with the other characters. I love that moment with Rey and that conflict she felt about going on this mission, and that little connection, little moment she had with Leia was awesome. And I think that's it. Yeah, in general, how everyone's bringing their character to life in this world, in this setting. Regarding the question, saving son, Leia would probably Leia would probably think she needs to make at least one last effort to save her son. I think something I'm thinking about, and people can give me their reactions if they feel this is not in order, is that Leia would consider staying with her son. Let me put it this way: that since Star Wars draws a lot of myths, and I was thinking of that the myth of of Orpheus going to the underworld with Eurydice, and that Leia would actually go on that journey, metaphorically, and even put it to Kylo that she might be willing to go, not necessarily to the dark side, but certainly leave the Jedi path to be with him. If he would leave, of course, if he would leave the First Order, she would be willing to leave the rebellion.
So sort of like a self-imposed exile.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'd like to bring up a wish I just thought of, possibly for that, would be to see a Force ghost, possibly Luke in that situation or in other cases that would help resolve that conflict in some way.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be
Like that.
interesting.
All right. I think that's good stuff. We'll kind of look at leading into that. I definitely wanted to bring Kylo into a place where we could have that meeting if you wanted to figure out how to do that, Leia. So I think that's good stuff. Let's come to Ray.
Yeah. Stars. Everyone, this is a delightful game to play. I really, really enjoyed Poe's dash to the radio. That felt that was very, very cinematic. You know, I could see exactly how it would play out. That was really, really fun moment. I love the dialogue with Leia. That little talk we had. I feel like me and Rob, like we're very in sync with how these characters work and how they relate. So it's really fun to have those dialogues. And Steven, you're really playing Rose the way I want her to be, which is so that makes it a lot of fun. And Lowell, this thing with the themes, that's really smart. I'm definitely stealing that for like every game I'm going to run. Yeah, it's really great. And I think you're just showing that you're a veteran GM, keeping everything moving and the framing and making sure everyone has spotlight time. It's just a pleasure to play in any game that you run.
Oh, that's very nice of you to say. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't think I have any wishes that hasn't been mentioned.
Sure. Cisco, did you have something you want me to come back to?
No, I'm gonna echo everybody else's wishes and just be super basic and be like, I can't get enough Grogu and Ahsoka. They're awesome.
Okay.
But I feel like you knew that. So.
I had a sense that there was a little fan favorite stuff there. Thank you all so much. And I'm going to stop the recording.